I am standing in the polished lobby of Cascadia Medical Center when I hear it. A name I haven't answered to in 29 years. Caitlin. The voice slices through the ambient hospital noise, phones ringing, muted conversations, the squeak of orthopedic shoes against buffed tile. My chest constricts as if cinched by invisible wire. My hands begin to tremble, the visitor badge clipped to my blazer suddenly feeling like a concrete block. Caitlin Gray. The voice calls again, louder this time, demanding recognition. Heads turn. Curious glances sweep in my direction as a tall man with silver-streaked hair strides across the lobby, a petite blonde woman trailing behind him. Their faces are older versions of the ones that have haunted the edges of my nightmares for decades. Across the lobby, a familiar voice calls out, "Arabella, over here." My son waves from near the reception desk, still wearing his blue surgical scrubs, completely unaware of the earthquake fracturing my carefully constructed world. 2 names. 1 person. I am Arabella Beaumont, now have been for 28 years, but the sound of Caitlin pulls me backward through time. Suddenly, I'm 17 again, standing in our apartment doorway with a positive pregnancy test clutched in my trembling hand, watching my father's face contort with rage. "You have until morning to pack," he had said, voice flat as pavement. "Take what you can carry." My mother had stood behind him, silent tears streaming down her face, offering no defense. The next morning, they'd driven me to the bus station, with exactly $219 in cash, every dollar I'd saved from my summer job at the mall. "Martin, perhaps we should approach more gently," the blonde woman, my mother, murmurs now, her hand clutching her husband's arm, but her eyes are calculating, scanning the lobby for reactions. They've rehearsed this moment, planned this ambush. "Caitlin, it's been too long." My father extends his hand as if we'd parted after a pleasant family dinner rather than him casting out his pregnant teenage daughter to fend for herself. "You look wonderful." I fight against the violent undertow of memory, that first night sleeping on a park bench, too terrified to close my eyes. The cardboard sign I'd made, "Pregnant. Please help." The rain that soaked through my only jacket. Then Agatha Beaumont finding me there, this elegant woman in her 60s offering not just a meal but a home, her 6-bedroom craftsman with a nursery already prepared for what would become her unofficial grand family project. "Everyone deserves a second chance," she'd told me, over steaming mugs of tea that first morning. The memories twist inside me like snakes. My fingers find Agatha's antique watch on my wrist, its steady ticking anchoring me to the present. 29 years of silence. Why now? I know the answer before I can fully form the question. 3 weeks ago, the Seattle Times ran a feature on Everest, the brilliant young cardiothoracic surgery resident who had performed a miraculous procedure on a newborn. The article mentioned the Agatha Beaumont Foundation. It connected my son to the boutique hotel and bakery empire that made me a wealthy woman after Agatha's passing. And now, suddenly, here they are. My father steps forward as if to embrace me. I step back, chin raised, finding my voice. "My name is Arabella." My mother laughs, a brittle sound like glass cracking. "Don't be ridiculous. You'll always be our Caitlin." 2 nurses at the reception desk exchange glances. One whispers something to the other. I realize that we have an audience now. My father notes it too, his smile broadening for their benefit. "We've waited so long for this moment," he says, loud enough to carry. "When we saw the article about our grandson's surgical achievement, we knew it was time to reconnect with our family." The strategic word choice doesn't escape me. Our grandson, our family, establishing ownership, connection, bloodlines. The familiar Gray family tactic appear reasonable while taking what doesn't belong to you. My head feels light. The hotel magnate's daughter and the disgraced pregnant teenager superimposed in the same body, neither quite real. Everest waves again from across the lobby, clearly wondering why I haven't joined him. "He looks so much like me." Agatha used to say he had my determination in his eyes. "We know we made mistakes," my mother says, her voice softening. "But surely after all this time, we can put the past behind us." I notice her designer handbag, the diamond earrings that catch the fluorescent light. Martin wears an expensive watch, not the same bargain store brand he wore when he drove me to the bus station with instructions never to return. Whatever they want from this reunion, it's calculated, rehearsed, strategic. The past? I finally manage, the word coming out sharper than intended. "The past was watching you drive away while I stood at a bus station with nowhere to go." Martin's smile tightens. "We were young parents facing a difficult situation. You were 41. I correct him. Mom was 38. A woman in scrubs looks up from the reception desk, clearly uncomfortable witnessing this confrontation. My mother notices and adjusts her approach, lowering her voice, leaning in closer. Darling, we've changed. We've regretted what happened every day since. 29 years of silence suggest otherwise. My fingers twist Agatha's watch, one full rotation, then another. A trick she taught me for managing moments of crisis. I'm the CEO of Bluefinch Bakery. I sit on 3 charitable boards. I raised a son who saves lives with his hands. I am not that terrified teenager anymore. Across the lobby, Everest notices something is wrong. He excuses himself from the conversation with a colleague and starts walking toward us, his stride purposeful, protective. The son I raised alone. The boy Agatha helped me nurture into the man he's become. Is everything okay here? Everest asks, positioning himself beside me, a physical barrier between me and the strangers claiming to be my parents. In his eyes, I see a choice. Create a scene in this hospital where he works, where his reputation matters, or retreat strategically and handle this on my terms, not theirs. Agatha would choose the latter. Never fight a battle without choosing the battlefield, she would say. Martin's smile shifts as he takes in Everest 6 feet tall, confident, successful. My father extends his hand. You must be our grandson. We've waited so long to meet you. Everest doesn't take the offered hand. Instead, he places his arm around my shoulders. I'm Dr. Beaumont, he says, emphasizing our shared surname. My mother is Arabella Beaumont. I feel something strengthen inside me at my son's touch, the foundation Agatha built for us brick by brick. The legal name change at 18. The adult adoption at 20. The life constructed far from the wreckage they created. We should go, I say to Everest, my voice steadier than I feel. We have dinner reservations. Caitlin, my father calls as we turn away. We're staying at the Olympic. We'd like to meet properly, as a family. I pause, turn back one final time. You gave up the right to call me anything 29 years ago. Nolan Pierce's office smells like sandalwood and leather, the scent of stability in a world suddenly spinning off its axis. 3 days have passed since my parents materialized in the hospital lobby, yet their voices echo in my mind like a broken record. Caitlin. Caitlin Gray. The name feels foreign now, a borrowed identity I returned decades ago. I found these in Agatha's safety deposit box, Nolan says, sliding a manila folder across his desk. His silver hair catches the afternoon light streaming through Venetian blinds. She kept meticulous records. The folder contains yellowed court documents from 1996. My hands tremble as I scan the pages, each line revealing a truth I never fully understood. Temporary guardianship granted to Agatha Beaumont. A no-contact order against Martin and Jocelyn Gray. The careful legal architecture of my salvation, constructed while I was still learning to change diapers with one hand while holding Everest with the other. There's more. Nolan continues, pushing another stack toward me. Your legal name change in 1998. The adult adoption papers from 2000. Agatha made certain everything was ironclad. I run my fingers over Agatha's familiar signature, the elegant swoop of her initials. All these years, I thought she was simply being kind, a wealthy woman with a soft heart for a pregnant teenager. Now I see the steel beneath her velvet exterior. She hadn't just rescued me. She had fortified me against a threat she anticipated would someday return. Why would they want contact now, after 29 years? I ask, though the answer materializes before Nolan can respond. He taps the business section of the Seattle Times spread open on his desk. The headline reads, Gray and Fox Holdings under SEC investigation. Below is a smaller article featuring Everest's miracle surgery, mentioning his connection to the Agatha Beaumont Foundation and Bluefinch Bakery empire. The timing isn't coincidental. Nolan says, your parents' company is in serious trouble, while your son has just been publicly identified as heir to a clean, profitable business portfolio. My stomach twists as reality reshapes itself around me. They waited until Agatha died to make their move. Nolan nods, then slides a final document across his desk. This one is new, the ink still fresh, the paper crisp. A contract between Martin Gray and Tyler Quinn, Everest's biological father. I haven't heard that name since he declared my pregnancy not his problem, outside the mall food court where we both worked. The contract specifies an 8% success fee for a family reunion campaign. The room tilts slightly. They're working with Tyler? Your ex-boyfriend filed for bankruptcy last month, Nolan explains. Apparently, he's decided that Everest, the son he never acknowledged, might be his ticket to solvency. I close my eyes, touching Agatha's watch on my wrist. All those years of insisting I complete legal paperwork, pushing me to document everything, teaching me to create contingency plans for the bakery, it wasn't paranoia or business acumen alone. It was protection. They're not seeking reconciliation, I say quietly. They want access to what Agatha built. I'm afraid it's worse than that, Nolan replies, handing me a financial journal. Gray and Fox Holdings isn't just under investigation. They're facing potential criminal charges. Your father needs more than money, he needs a reputation whitewash. A heartwarming family reunion story and association with a respected surgeon would be quite valuable right now. The memory of my father's practiced smile in the hospital lobby takes on new significance, not just calculated, but desperate. My mother's tears, precisely timed for maximum effect. They're drowning, and I'm their life raft. Do they think I'll just welcome them back because they called me by my old name? My voice sounds stronger than I feel. They're desperate, not delusional, Nolan says. They've hired a crisis management team. They're cultivating a narrative about family reconciliation that will play well in the business community. Family sticks together in troubled times. We can help each other. He quotes the phrase with distaste. And Tyler? What's his angle beyond money? Bankruptcy fraud investigation. The timing suggests he's seeking protection through new family connections. Your parents found a desperate ally. The scope of the betrayal expands beyond what I imagined. Not just my parents' sudden reappearance, but a coordinated campaign to undermine everything Agatha helped me build. Their willingness to use media pressure shows they'll stop at nothing. Nolan adds, showing me a press inquiry about a touching family reconciliation that landed at the foundation office this morning. I stand and walk to the window, watching Seattle's skyline blur through unexpected tears. All these years, I thought Agatha saved me because she was kind. I never realized she was fighting a war. She was both, Nolan says, his voice gentle. Kind and strategic. She loved you, Arabella, and she knew exactly who she was protecting you from. The door opens, and Everest enters, his surgical scrubs replaced with a crisp button-down shirt, dark circles under his eyes testifying to a long hospital shift. He studies the documents spread across the desk, his expression hardening as he absorbs their meaning. She knew they might return, Nolan says, moving to a floor-to-ceiling bookcase. He pulls out a thick binder labeled Gray Contingencies in Agatha's neat handwriting. She prepared for this exact situation. The timing matches my feature in the Times, Everest says, scanning the articles. They've been monitoring my career. The revelation strikes me like physical pain. While I watched my son graduate medical school with pride, they were calculating his future value to their reputation. My grandmother protected you then, Everest says, placing his hand on my shoulder. We'll protect your legacy now. Nolan opens the binder, revealing meticulously organized sections, legal precedents, financial records, media statements, witness affidavits. 29 years of documentation, waiting for this moment. We're not fighting unprepared, Nolan says, his attorney's confidence evident. Agatha made certain of that. I look between Everest and Nolan, feeling something shift inside me. The terrified teenager who stepped off a bus with nothing is gone. In her place stands the woman Agatha believed I could become, the one who won't be erased again. Then, let's use her plan, I say, opening the binder. Show me everything. The next day, I stare at the manila folder Nolan has spread across his walnut desk. The papers inside have the faded quality of documents stored for decades, yet they feel like live ammunition in my hands. Each yellowed page represents another piece of protection Agatha quietly built around us, around me, while I was busy learning to be a mother. She documented everything, Nolan says, his silver-rimmed glasses catching the afternoon light as he slides another paper toward me. Agatha hired a private investigator every time the Grays attempted contact. My fingers tremble slightly as I lift a report dated 1998, a year after Everest was born. The investigator's neat handwriting details Martin and Jocelyn Gray watching us from their car outside Blue Finch's first location. They never approached, just observed. Like predators studying potential prey. There are 11 documented violations of the no-contact order. Nolan continues, his voice carrying the quiet satisfaction of a man who has found the perfect chess move. Each one carefully recorded, photographed, and notarized. I really won. I scan the papers, my heart pounding against my ribs. She never told me they tried to contact us. She wanted to protect you from exactly what's happening now. Nolan taps a legal document bearing an embossed seal. This adult adoption is ironclad. They cannot claim any legal relationship to you, which means they have no standing regarding Everest either. The revelation sends a current through my body. All these years, I thought Agatha's insistence on legal documentation was her natural business acumen. Now I see it was armor she was forging for me, piece by piece. Mom? Everest appears in the doorway, still in hospital scrubs despite having finished his shift hours ago. His face bears the focused intensity he carries from the operating room. The hospital administrator forwarded me an email. He holds up his phone. Tyler Quinn contacted them about a family reconciliation story they want to pitch to Seattle Life magazine. My stomach drops. Tyler, a name I haven't spoken aloud in 28 years, Everest's biological father, who vanished before his son took his first breath. They're coordinating, I say, the pieces clicking together with terrible clarity. This wasn't a chance encounter at the hospital. They've been watching your career. Everest nods, jaw tightening, as he scans the documents spread across Nolan's desk. I gather the reports, feeling something unfamiliar crystallize inside me. Not fear, something harder, clearer. In my hand, I hold proof that my parents' sudden appearance isn't about reconciliation or regret. It's calculated. As calculated as the night they drove me to the bus station with my life in a duffel bag. I want to meet them, I say, surprising myself with the steadiness in my voice. Nolan and Everest exchange glances. Are you certain that's wise? Nolan asks. I tap the folder. I'm not walking in unarmed this time. 2 days later, the cafeteria of Cascadia Medical Center buzzes with the predictable rhythm of hospital life. Doctors in scrubs grab coffee between rounds. Visitors seeking momentary respite from beeping monitors and antiseptic hallways pick at salads. It's public enough to prevent a scene, yet private enough for the conversation I need to have. I've chosen my outfit with the same strategic care Agatha would approve of a tailored navy suit that carries the authority of the CEO I've become, not the frightened teenager they discarded. Agatha's watch gleams on my wrist, its weight reassuring. They arrive 5 minutes early, another calculated move. Martin's silver-streaked hair is freshly trimmed, his charcoal suit expensive but understated. Jocelyn wears a cream-colored dress that softens her appearance, pearl earrings catching the fluorescent light. They look like what they're trying to portray, concerned grandparents seeking reconciliation. The image makes my stomach turn. Caitlin, Martin begins, extending his hand. Arabella, I correct him, not taking his hand. My legal name, for 28 years. His smile remains fixed, though something flickers in his eyes. Of course, old habits. I don't invite them to sit. Instead, I place Agatha's folder on the table between us. I found her files about you, I say, opening the folder to reveal the first surveillance photo from 1998. All the times you tried to contact us when it benefited you. Martin's face stiffens. Jocelyn's gaze darts around the cafeteria, clearly uncomfortable with potential witnesses. Perhaps we should discuss this somewhere more private, she suggests, her voice honey-sweet with concern. I prefer witnesses, I reply, turning another page. Like when you showed up at Bluefinch's grand opening in 2005. Or when you sent that letter to Everest's high school after his science award was in the paper. Martin shifts his weight, his confidence visibly faltering. Those were different times. We were trying to... Or when you hired that private investigator to research Agatha's finances in 2010? I continue, revealing another document, all violations of the no-contact order you signed. Jocelyn's composure cracks. Those were desperate times. We've changed. Everyone deserves a second chance. The irony of her using Agatha's phrase, the words that saved my life when they threw me away, ignites something fierce inside me. You signed away your rights for money, I say, sliding forward the court document with both their signatures. I have the records of the payment Tyler Quinn made to you, 8% of his potential inheritance from his family if you both disappeared from our lives. Martin's face reddens. That's exactly what happened. I interrupt, my voice carrying enough for nearby tables to hear. You calculated my value and found me wanting. Now you've calculated Everest's value and found him worth claiming. 5. Several doctors at a nearby table look over colleagues of Everest, who have witnessed his meteoric rise through the surgical program. Their expressions shift from curiosity to concern as they recognize me. We only want what's best for our grandson, Martin says, voice lowered but intensity unchanged. For our family. The word family in his mouth feels like a violation. I stand straighter, channeling every board meeting where I refuse to be intimidated by men in expensive suits. You're not my family, I say clearly. You forfeited that right 29 years ago. Agatha Beaumont became my mother, the night she found me sleeping on a park bench after you drove away. She's the name on my adoption papers. She's the name on my son's birth certificate, and she made sure you could never take that from us. Jocelyn reaches toward me, her manicured fingers trembling slightly. Darling, we were wrong. We've lived with that mistake every day. Yet you never tried to make amends until my son became valuable to you, I counter. Until the Agatha Beaumont Foundation was featured in the Times. A tall woman in a tailored suit approaches our table, Dr. Lancaster, the hospital administrator. Her expression is politely concerned as she looks between us. Is everything all right, Mrs. Beaumont? She asks, emphasizing my chosen name. Before Martin can speak, I answer, yes, thank you. These people were just leaving. Something flashes across Martin's face, the same expression he wore the night he told me I had until morning to pack my things. But this time, I don't flinch. This isn't over, he says quietly. Actually, it is, I reply. The adult adoption papers Agatha filed give me complete legal protection from any claim you might make. My attorney is preparing a cease and desist order as we speak. Dr. Lancaster's presence has drawn the attention of other staff members. Martin and Jocelyn recognize the shift in the room, the witnesses forming a silent wall of support around me. We'll be in touch, Martin says, attempting to salvage his dignity as they stand to leave. No, I say simply, you won't. I watch them walk away, their carefully constructed facade crumbling under the weight of exposed truth. My hands aren't trembling anymore. For the first time since hearing them call my former name across the lobby, I feel steady. My phone buzzes with a text from Nolan. Judge Wilson approved the temporary restraining order. It's being served tomorrow. However, another text arrives from Everest. Finished rounds early. Want me to come down? Before I can reply, Dr. Lancaster places a gentle hand on my shoulder. Everest is one of our finest, she says. His character speaks volumes about his upbringing. Whatever those people wanted, they clearly don't deserve to be part of what you've built. The simple validation threatens to crack the composure I've maintained throughout the confrontation. I manage a nod of appreciation. More hospital staff approach doctors who have worked with Everest, nurses who have seen his dedication to patients. Each offers a quiet word of support, or simply a knowing nod. The community I never expected rallies around me in the wake of my stand. When I finally sit alone at the table, my phone rings. Nolan sounds triumphant. The adult adoption records are absolutely ironclad, he says, without preamble. I've filed preemptive paperwork with family court. They won't get within legal shouting distance of either of you. Thank you, I say, but my fingers have found something else in the folder, a handwritten note on Agatha's personal stationery. The sight of her elegant script makes my throat tighten. What is it? Nolan asks, hearing my silence. A letter from Agatha, I say softly, hidden in the legal files. I read the words that bring her voice back to me with startling clarity. Blood makes relatives, but love makes family. Remember that when they inevitably return. You are my daughter in all the ways that matter, Arabella. Never doubt your right to the name you chose and the life you've built. By the time Everest finds me, I've composed myself again. He slides into the chair opposite mine, scanning my face for signs of distress. Are you okay? He asks. I close the folder containing 3 decades of protection I never knew I had. I am, I reply, surprised to find it's true. Your grandmother made sure of that. Everest's smile holds the same quiet strength Agatha's did. Mom, you stood your ground just like grandmother taught you. As we walk together through the hospital corridors, I feel lighter than I have in days. This was only one battle in what promises to be a longer war, but now I know I'm not fighting with just my own strength. I'm carrying Agatha's strategic foresight, Everest's unwavering support, and the legal ammunition Nolan has helped uncover. If I can achieve this much with only days of preparation, I wonder what might be possible with proper planning. For the first time since hearing my old name called across the lobby, I allow myself to feel something beyond fear or anger. Hope. Nolan's conference room has transformed into our command center. Legal documents spread across the glossy oak table like battle plans. The morning sun filters through Venetian blinds, casting striped shadows across our arsenal. Court records, financial statements, newspaper clippings, and photographs. 1 week since the hospital confrontation, and I've exchanged raw emotion for something colder, more calculated. My finger traces the edge of a manila folder containing the no-contact order my parents violated repeatedly over 29 years. Their SEC investigation could be our strongest leverage, Nolan says, tapping a business journal article. His silver-rimmed glasses reflect the document's headline. Gray and Fox Holdings faces federal scrutiny. I nod, mentally cataloging this vulnerability alongside others we've identified. What legal challenges could they reasonably mount? 3 possibilities. Nolan slides forward a yellow legal pad. They might claim Agatha exercised undue influence during your adult adoption. They could challenge the legitimacy of the name change. Or most dangerously attempt to establish some claim on Everest through biological connection. My stomach tightens at the last one. I twist Agatha's watch, one full rotation, then another. How do we counter the media narrative they're building? I ask. Controlled information release. Nolan adjusts his tie. We have Agatha's documentation of their abandoned attempts to contact you whenever your achievements made the news. Each coincided with periods of financial difficulty for them. I pick up a faded newspaper clipping from 2008, my first bakery opening, tucked in the business section. The week after publication, Martin left 3 messages at Blue Finch. Agatha documented everything. She never made a move without planning 3 steps ahead. I run my fingers across her familiar handwriting in the margins of a legal brief. I need to think like she would. The conference room door opens, and Everest enters, still in his hospital scrubs. They're making rounds at the hospital, he says without preamble. Dr. Winters mentioned that Martin asked pointed questions about my surgical fellowship application. I add this to our growing threat assessment. Any contact with your colleagues? They approached Dr. Matheson in the cafeteria. He shut them down immediately. Everest places his phone on the table. I've documented everyone they've attempted to speak with. Nolan nods approvingly. Perfect. Evidence of continued pattern. I study our collection of data points with the detached calculation I bring to quarterly business reviews. This isn't personal anymore, it's a hostile takeover attempt to be neutralized. Emotion clouds judgment. Agatha taught me that. The Bluefinch managers reported the Grays came by the downtown location yesterday. I tell them, asked questions about our expansion plans, tried to get financial details from the assistant manager. Nolan makes a note. We'll need statements from your staff. The afternoon passes in methodical preparation. We catalog vulnerabilities, identify allies, anticipate counterattacks. My mind settles into the familiar rhythm of strategic planning, the same process that grew Agatha's single bakery into a regional chain. At 6, Nolan's assistant knocks and enters with a manila envelope. This just arrived via courier, Mr. Pierce. Nolan opens it, scans the document, and his expression changes. Something tightens around my heart. What is it? I ask, already knowing it's nothing good. They've filed a petition to invalidate your adult adoption. He passes me the document. Based on Stevenson versus Linder, 2012. My fingers tremble slightly as I scan the legal language. I've never heard of this case. Few have. Nolan removes his glasses. It's an obscure precedent from Montana involving questions of mental capacity in the adoptive parent. They're claiming Agatha wasn't competent when she adopted you. The words strike like physical blows, not just attacking me but Agatha's mind, her judgment. The sharpest business intellect I've ever known. They've hired Howard Levinson, Nolan says, tapping the signature on the filing. He specializes in challenging adult adoptions. The floor seems to shift beneath me. They're not just desperate, they're dangerously competent. Everest places a steady hand on my shoulder. They're attacking the foundation of your identity. No, I correct him, finding my voice. They're attacking Agatha's judgment, her legacy. I straighten the documents on the table, aligning their edges with precision. My hands stop trembling. The initial shock gives way to something harder, more focused. They think we're unprepared, I say. They don't realize Agatha anticipated this exact scenario. Nolan nods, reaching for a sealed envelope from his safe. She left instructions for precisely this situation. I think of Agatha on her deathbed 2 years ago, her hand clasping mine. Remember what I taught you about chess, Arabella? The best defense is prepared before the attack begins. My fingers close around her antique watch, drawing strength from its steady rhythm. They're underestimating how thoroughly Agatha prepared us. I return to the documents, my mind sharpening with newfound clarity. This isn't just about protecting my identity anymore. It's about preserving everything Agatha built, everything she entrusted to me. The battle lines are drawn, the strategy set, and unlike that terrified 17-year-old girl abandoned at a bus station, I am not facing this fight alone. The conference room at Nolan's law firm has become our war room. Maps of strategy spread across polished mahogany financial records, sworn affidavits, character testimonials. For 3 weeks, we've moved methodically through each element of our defense, preparing for whatever the Greys might attempt next. They've filed a motion challenging the mental competency of Agatha at the time of your adult adoption, Nolan says, sliding a document across the table. His silver hair catches the afternoon light. It won't stand, but it shows they're attacking the foundation of everything. I twist Agatha's watch 1 full rotation. My fingertips trace the worn silver links, feeling the subtle scratches that tell the story of a lifetime. And our response? Countersuit for harassment and emotional distress. Nolan taps another folder, thicker than the first. I've documented 17 separate incidents where they've attempted contact over the years, each violating the no-contact order. Agatha kept impeccable records. Everest enters, still wearing his surgical scrubs, face lined with fatigue after a 12-hour shift. He drops a leather portfolio on the table. I've collected statements from every attending physician who's worked with me since residency began. 23 doctors vouching for both my character and yours, Mom. The Blue Finch financial reports are ready, I add, gesturing toward the spreadsheets I've spent nights organizing. Every quarterly statement since Agatha handed me control. Profit margins, expansion timelines, employee retention rates, all evidence of stable management. This isn't the quick confrontation of the hospital cafeteria. We're not aiming for a momentary victory. We're securing permanent protection. We're preparing for the final confrontation, Nolan says, voice steady as he reviews our documentation. Not just another skirmish. My phone buzzes. A text from Marina, my assistant manager at Blue Finch's downtown location. I feel my chest tighten as I read her message. They approached my staff. My voice sounds strange in my ears. The Greys visited 3 bakery locations yesterday, offering cash for information about working conditions. Everest's expression darkens. They're undermining your business now. I press my fingertips against the cool surface of the conference table, anchoring myself against the wave of violation washing through me. It's no longer just about my identity or my past. They're threatening the livelihood of people who depend on me. I have 42 employees across 5 locations. I say, thinking of faces, names, families, people with rent payments, student loans, childcare costs. If they turn my staff, they won't. Nolan interrupts firmly. Your employees are loyal, but we need to expand our strategy beyond personal defense. Everest paces the room, tension evident in his shoulders. They're more thorough than we anticipated. I found out they've contacted 4 Beaumont hotel suppliers asking about business relationships dating back to when Agatha was still active in management. The air in the room feels thinner. I twist Agatha's watch again, 2 full rotations this time. Do I tell the staff about our family history? The question escapes before I can contain it. Or will that put more pressure on them? Make them feel they need to choose sides? Nolan considers this carefully. That's your decision, Arabella. But remember what Agatha always said about transparency in crisis. Trust creates allies. Secrets create vulnerabilities. Another lesson from the woman who saved me. We've positioned everything we can. Everest says after a moment of reflection. The legal documentation, the professional testimonials, the business records. It all leads to the Agatha Beaumont Foundation Gala next month. I nod, understanding the significance. 500 guests. Media coverage. The perfect battlefield. One where the Greys would be at a distinct disadvantage. We're as ready as we can be. Nolan confirms, gathering papers into folders. The Foundation Gala is our opportunity to end this permanently. There's a certain peace in completeness. Every legal avenue explored, every witness prepared, every document cataloged. The terrified woman who froze at the sound of Caitlin in a hospital lobby has been replaced by someone who thinks 3 steps ahead, anticipating threats before they materialize. Everest places his hand over mine, his surgeon's fingers steady and warm. Grandmother's plan is solid. We have everything we need. I feel a quiet strength building beneath the surface of my fear. The Greys thought they were targeting a vulnerable woman caught off guard. Instead, they're about to face the daughter Agatha Beaumont raised, strategic, prepared, and absolutely unwilling to surrender what was built through love rather than blood. My fingers find the clasp of Agatha's watch, feeling its familiar weight. Then we're ready for whatever comes next. A week later, I'm staring at my phone screen when the notification appears. My thumb hovers over the local news app alert. Grey family seeks reconciliation with estranged daughter and grandson. Something inside me goes still. Not the panicked stillness from the hospital lobby, but the deadly calm that comes before a storm. I tap the notification. The video loads, showing Martin and Jocelyn seated on a cream-colored couch in what appears to be a hotel suite, the Olympic, just as they'd said. My father's silver hair is perfectly combed, his navy suit immaculate. My mother's blonde hair frames her face in soft waves, her pearl necklace catching the light as she dabs at non-existent tears. We simply want to know our grandson, Martin says, his voice carrying that practiced sincerity I remember from childhood. After seeing his remarkable surgical achievement in the news, we realized life is too short to let old disagreements keep a family apart. Disagreements, I whisper to the empty room. Is that what we're calling abandonment now? The interviewer, a woman with sympathetic eyes and a predatory smile, leans forward. And your daughter? What would you say to her if she's watching? Jocelyn touches her husband's arm, her diamond bracelet glinting. Caitlin, sweetheart, we understand you might still harbor some resentment about the past. We were young parents facing an impossible situation. I laugh out loud, the sound harsh in my quiet living room. Young, you were 41, Dad. But family is family, Martin continues on screen. We're not getting any younger. All we want is to be part of your lives, to know our grandson. Is that so much to ask? The camera pulls back to reveal photos they've brought, old snapshots of me as a child, carefully selected to create the illusion of a happy family. There's even a photograph of me at 16, taken the year before I got pregnant, before everything fell apart. My phone vibrates with Nolan's incoming call. Have you seen it? He asks without preamble. I'm watching now. My voice sounds strange even to my own ears, controlled, yet vibrating with something darker than anger. It's a calculated move, Nolan says. The timing is perfect, one day before the Foundation Gala. The Agatha Beaumont Foundation Gala. 500 guests, full media coverage, the most important fundraising event of the year for young mothers in crisis. The exact mothers I once was. They know exactly what they're doing, I say, watching as Jocelyn dabs at her eyes again. The interviewer hands her a tissue. A practiced move that looks spontaneous. They're positioning themselves as reasonable people seeking reconciliation, Nolan continues. And you as the bitter daughter keeping a beloved grandson from his grandparents. I finish for him. The unstable woman who changed her name and turned her back on family. As if summoned by my words, the interviewer asks that very question. Some might wonder why your daughter changed her name. Was there more to this estrangement than youthful disagreements? Martin's expression tightens for a fraction of a second before smoothing into practiced concern. Caitlin was always sensitive, impulsive. We believe she fell under the influence of her employer, Agatha Beaumont, a wealthy woman who, unfortunately, had no children of her own. The implication hangs in the air, ugly and calculated, that Agatha somehow manipulated a vulnerable girl, stole her from her loving parents. My grip tightens on the phone until my knuckles turn white. They're not just coming for me now. They're attacking Agatha's memory. Call Everest. I tell Nolan, my voice flat with controlled fury. Tell him not to watch this at the hospital. I'll meet him at your office in 30 minutes. I end the call and force myself to watch the rest. Each word they speak is another brick in the wall of their narrative. Concerned grandparents. Heartbroken parents. A family torn apart by misunderstanding. Not once do they mention throwing me out with $219 to my name. Not once do they acknowledge the 29 years of silence except to frame it as my choice, my bitterness, my inability to forgive. By the time I arrive at Nolan's office, my phone has 17 missed calls from reporters. 2 donors have texted to express concern about tomorrow's gala. The foundation's social media accounts are flooded with comments demanding I let bygones be bygones from people who know nothing about what actually happened. Everest is already there, pacing the length of Nolan's conference room, his surgical precision temporarily abandoned in favor of raw fury. They called me their miracle grandson. He spits the words out, as if they had any right, as if they didn't sign away any claim to either of us decades ago. Nolan stands at the head of the table, calm amid our storm. We've prepared for this, everything is in place. I take a deep breath, touching Agatha's watch on my wrist. One full rotation, then another. The ritual centers me, brings me back to what matters. Activate everything, I say. All of it, now. Nolan nods once, then picks up his phone. Within the hour, our counteroffensive begins, not with angry denials or emotional outbursts, but with facts, methodical, undeniable facts. A press release from Nolan's firm detailing the legal history, the court records, the temporary guardianship, the no-contact order, all carefully presented without attacking the Greys personally, simply laying out the documented timeline. A statement from Everest, professional and measured. I am proud to be Dr. Everest Beaumont, son of Arabella Beaumont. My chosen family has supported me through every step of my education and career. I respectfully request privacy as I continue my work, saving lives. Testimonials from long-term Bluefinch Bakery employees appear on social media, stories about Arabella's leadership and Agatha's legacy. The community we've built over decades begins to rally, not with dramatic declarations but with steady support. By evening, 3 major donors who had wavered call to confirm their attendance at tomorrow's gala. The news coverage shifts from family seeking reconciliation to complex legal history revealed. I should feel triumphant. Instead, I feel a strange hollowness as I watch our careful preparations unfold exactly as planned. For nearly 30 years, I've carried the weight of that night standing in the doorway with the pregnancy test, watching my life collapse, the long bus ride to nowhere. For 28 years, I've been building something else, a business, a foundation, a life with my son. And now, it comes down to this. A public relations battle on the eve of the most important night of the year. My phone rings, unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answer, Arabella Beaumont. The foundation gala should be interesting tomorrow night. My father's voice, smooth as ever. We've decided to attend. The floor seems to drop away beneath me. You weren't invited. We're community members interested in supporting young mothers, he says, and I can hear the smile in his voice. What kind of grandparents would we be if we didn't support such an important cause? I end the call without another word, turn to find Everest and Nolan watching me with concern. They're coming to the gala, I say, my voice sounding distant to my own ears. They've decided to crash it. Nolan's expression hardens. Then we'll be ready for them. Everest moves to my side, his hand on my shoulder. We've known this was coming, Mom. Everything is in place. I nod, the hollowness inside me hardening into something stronger. We need to review everything one more time. No surprises tomorrow. We work late into the night, reviewing security protocols, briefing staff, preparing for every possible scenario. The gala venue sends updated floor plans. The catering manager confirms they've been instructed not to seat the Greys at any foundation tables. Our legal team prepares documents to be served if necessary. It's after midnight when Everest and I finally return home. We sit in the kitchen, Agatha's kitchen, with its hand-painted tiles and copper pots hanging from the ceiling rack. The heart of the home she created for us when no one else would. Remember what grandmother used to say about confrontations? Everest asks, his voice quiet in the stillness. I smile despite everything. Never meet your opponent where they want to fight. Choose your own battlefield. Tomorrow, we fight on our terms. Everest reaches across the table, takes my hand. Tomorrow, we show them what real family looks like. I squeeze his hand, feeling the surgeon's calluses that mirror my own baker's hands. Agatha would be proud of you. Of us, he corrects. She planned for this, Mom. She knew they might come back someday, and she made sure we'd be ready. I look around this kitchen where Agatha taught me to bake, where I nursed Everest through childhood illnesses, where we celebrated his medical school acceptance. This home that belongs to us not by birth but by choice. Get some sleep, I tell him. Tomorrow will be the performance of our lives. After he goes upstairs, I sit alone in the quiet kitchen, touching Agatha's watch. Tomorrow, everything changes. Tomorrow, I finally face the ghost of Caitlin Gray and put her to rest forever. Tomorrow, we end this. The next evening, I stand at the back entrance of the Grand Ballroom, watching 500 of Seattle's most influential citizens mingle beneath crystal chandeliers. The Agatha Beaumont Foundation Gala has always been the culmination of our year's work, but tonight it represents something far more personal. My fingers find Agatha's watch, its steady ticking a metronome for my racing heart. Ready? Everest appears beside me, handsome in his tailored tuxedo. The surgical precision in his hands now applied to straightening his bow tie. They're here, Nolan murmurs, approaching from the lobby. Front entrance, making quite the entrance for the cameras. I nod, oddly calm, just as we expected. 4 weeks of preparation for this moment. 4 weeks of gathering evidence, preparing statements, coordinating with the foundation board. What began as an ambush at the hospital has transformed into a battlefield of my choosing. Mrs. Beaumont, a photographer calls. Could we get a photo of you with your son before his speech? I smile, genuine warmth spreading through me as Everest places his arm around my shoulders. This is what Martin and Jocelyn could never understand, this bond forged through sleepless nights, diaper changes, and medical school applications. A relationship they discarded for $219 cash. The ballroom buzzes with anticipation as the event coordinator signals the 5-minute warning for our program. I catch a flash of platinum blonde hair near the entrance, Jocelyn, working the room with practiced charm, Martin at her side greeting potential investors. The calculated precision of their movements betrays their true purpose. I should go prepare, Everest says, squeezing my hand. See you on the other side, Mom. I watch him walk toward the stage, shoulders straight, head high, everything we've built together about to face its greatest test. The lights dim. A spotlight catches the podium as the foundation director welcomes everyone. I search the crowd, finding Martin and Jocelyn positioned strategically near the front, exactly where the cameras will catch their reactions. Tonight, we celebrate 25 years of the Agatha Beaumont Foundation, the director announces. And now, I'm honored to introduce Dr. Everest Beaumont, whose surgical innovations have saved 17 infants this year alone. Applause cascades through the room as Everest takes the stage, his confidence filling the space. I stand taller, pride swelling in my chest. Thank you all for supporting my grandmother's vision. He begins. Agatha Beaumont taught me that family isn't defined by bloodlines or birth certificates. His eyes find mine across the room, and I see the 17-year-old boy who once asked why he didn't have grandparents like his friends. Family is presence, not pedigree. Everest continues. It's who stands beside you when the world turns its back, who builds you up when others tear you down. I notice Martin's posture stiffen, Jocelyn's smile falter momentarily. My mother taught me that lesson, by example. Abandoned as a pregnant teenager, she rebuilt her life brick by brick, sacrifice by sacrifice. The crowd grows utterly silent. Tonight, before we continue, I'd like to share something my grandmother prepared before her passing, something she knew might be needed someday. The massive screen behind him flickers to life, and Agatha appears, filmed in her library 3 years before her death. My breath catches at the sight of her regal in her favorite blue armchair, silver hair swept up, eyes bright with determination. If you're watching this, she begins, her voice strong despite her age. It means Caitlin's biological parents have resurfaced now that I'm gone. A murmur ripples through the crowd. To the people who gave her 10 minutes to vanish from their lives, Agatha continues, leaning forward, I give you 10 minutes to vanish from hers. The young woman you abandoned became Arabella Beaumont, my daughter in every way that matters. She built a life you have no right to claim. My vision blurs with tears as Agatha's face grows solemn. I've prepared for this moment. Every document, every legal protection, every contingency. You'll find no weakness in the fortress I've built around my family. The screen shifts to display court documents, the no-contact order, the name change petition, the adult adoption papers. My life from 1996 to the present day is presented in this video. Each part appears with highlighted sections as Nolan steps forward. For the record, Nolan announces, his voice carrying across the stunned room, these documents establish the legal separation between Arabella Beaumont and her former identity. The adult adoption was finalized in 2000, severing all parental rights. I watch Martin's face darken as he realizes what's happening. This isn't the simple reconciliation narrative they plan to spin for the cameras. Additionally, Nolan continues, pressing a button on his remote, we have evidence of recent communications that reveal the true motivation behind this sudden reappearance. The speakers crackle with an audio recording, Tyler Quinn's voice unmistakable despite the years. 8% success fee is fair, he says. I know how to approach them. Once we establish the family connection and get some press coverage, the foundation will be wide open. Gasps ripple through the audience. A prominent hospital board member turns to stare openly at Martin and Jocelyn, his expression hardening. Caitlin, Martin calls out, voice steady despite the sweat now visible on his forehead. This is outrageous. We're your family. The room falls silent. Every eye turns toward me. 29 years of preparation for this moment. Agatha's lessons about standing tall when you're broken inside. Everest's hand finding mine as I step forward. I walk slowly to the microphone, feeling the weight of 500 gazes. The cameras pivot, recording every step. That name died the night you left me on the street? I say, my voice clear and strong. I am Arabella Agatha's daughter, Everest's mother. The truth of it resonates through me, solid as the foundation beneath my feet. You cast me out with $219. Now you want to claim what others built. What I built. Jocelyn steps forward, desperation breaking through her composure. We were wrong. We made a terrible mistake. Yes, I interrupt. You did. And tonight, that mistake finally catches up to you. I nod toward the back of the room, where a court officer steps forward, papers in hand. Martin and Jocelyn Gray. She announces clearly, I'm serving you with a temporary restraining order prohibiting contact with Arabella Beaumont, Dr. Everest Beaumont, or any employee of the Agatha Beaumont Foundation or Bluefinch Bakery Enterprises. The cameras flash frantically as the officer approaches them. Martin's shoulders sag almost imperceptibly, the first genuine reaction I've seen from him since they reappeared in my life. His calculated facade crumbles for just a moment before he regains control, taking the papers with a trembling hand. This is a misunderstanding, he begins, but his voice lacks conviction. The foundation director steps forward. I believe it would be best if you left now, Mr. and Mrs. Gray. 2 security guards materialize beside them, not forceful, but unmistakably present. The room watches in hushed fascination as Martin straightens his tie one last time. A lifetime of maintaining appearances even in defeat. This isn't over, he murmurs, but the threat sounds hollow even to my ears. As they're escorted toward the exit, something shifts in the atmosphere. One person begins to applaud, then another, until the entire ballroom erupts. I stand stunned as the ovation washes over me, years of silent validation finally given voice. Everest returns to my side, his arms solid around my shoulders. She's watching, he whispers, eyes bright with tears. I know grandmother is watching over you. Nolan approaches, satisfaction evident in his measured smile. 29 years of documentation just paid off. The foundation director returns to the microphone, restoring order to the room. Mrs. Beaumont, would you care to address our guests? I step forward, feeling lighter than I have in weeks. The restraining order doesn't just protect me from them, it frees me from the specter of their return that has haunted me since Agatha's death. Tonight marks not just a continuation of Agatha's legacy, I begin, but an expansion. I'm pleased to announce the Agatha Beaumont Fellowship for Young Mothers will double its capacity next year. The applause resumes, even louder than before. Everyone deserves a second chance. I continue, the words rising from the deepest part of me. Everyone deserves the opportunity to become who they're truly meant to be. As I look out across the sea of faces, supporters, not judges, I finally understand what Agatha tried to tell me all those years ago. She hadn't just given me shelter. She'd given me the blueprint for building my own fortress, brick by brick, relationship by relationship. The Grays couldn't tear it down because they never understood what made it strong. Not money or social position, but the unshakable foundation of chosen family. Behind me, the screen displays the foundation's new expansion plans. 18 rooms for young mothers and their children, on-site childcare, educational opportunities. A legacy built from the ashes of abandonment. To new beginnings, I say, raising a glass. 500 voices echo. To new beginnings. The name they erased no longer matters. The name I chose, the life I built, stands unshaken. 6 months after the gala, I stand at the window of my office overlooking Seattle's downtown skyline. The morning sun catches on the brass plaque beside my door, Arabella Beaumont, CEO. No hesitation follows when I read it now. No phantom echo of Caitlin whispers in my mind. The Seattle Times business section lies open on my desk. Gray and Fox Holdings stock continues downward spiral, 28% loss since Beaumont Foundation Gala. I don't feel the vengeful satisfaction I once imagined. Instead, a calm certainty washes over me. Justice doesn't always arrive with thunderclaps. Sometimes it comes in quarterly reports and SEC investigations. My phone buzzes with a text from Everest. Associate Chief Resident announcement just posted. Dinner tonight to celebrate? I smile, typing back. Absolutely. Bring that Cabernet we've been saving. The transformation these past months startles me sometimes. I sleep through the night now, no longer jolting awake at 3 a.m., wondering if Martin and Jocelyn might appear unannounced. Decisions come easier, without the second guessing that once plagued me. The board approved our expansion plans for Bluefinch Bakery. Our 4th location breaks ground next month. Nolan knocks once before entering, legal folders tucked under his arm. Since agreeing to become the foundation's permanent legal counsel, he's traded his formal suits for smart casual wear, the change reflecting our deepened trust. Tyler Quinn's bankruptcy fraud investigation is proceeding, he says, settling into the chair across from me. The prosecutor found the contract promising him that 8% success fee for orchestrating your reunion. They're calling it evidence of financial conspiracy. And my parents? The word no longer burns my throat, maintaining a strategic distance. The restraining order ensures they can't approach you, Everest, or any foundation property. I nod, remembering how the gala audience gasped when the security team escorted them out. The community chose sides that night, and the foundation donations increased 60% in the weeks that followed. I almost lost everything Agatha built for us, I say, touching her watch on my wrist. But you didn't, Nolan reminds me. You protected it, just as she protected you. The morning staff meeting flows with an ease unimaginable 6 months ago. I laugh genuinely when our marketing director suggests Bluefinch cookies as holiday gifts. The tension that once lived between my shoulder blades has dissolved, replaced by a steady confidence. The Beaumont house renovations are complete, I tell the team. All 18 rooms ready for occupancy. Our first 6 young mothers move in next month. Heads nod around the table. This extension of Agatha's vision, creating temporary housing for young single mothers, while they complete education or job training, feels right. The perfect evolution of her legacy. After the meeting, I drive to Seattle General for the hospital board lunch. The same building where Martin and Jocelyn ambushed me now feels like friendly territory. Nurses greet me by name, Arabella. Always Arabella, as I pass through corridors toward the administrative wing. The chief of surgery shakes my hand warmly. Your son's surgical residents worship him, Mrs. Beaumont. That cardiac procedure he pioneered is being taught in 3 other teaching hospitals now. He gets his dedication from his grandmother, I reply, no longer feeling the need to justify our family connections. Later that afternoon, I walk through downtown, past the park where I once slept on a bench at 17, pregnant and abandoned. The memories have lost their poison. They're just part of my history now, not wounds that reopen with each remembering. I notice her immediately, a young woman sitting on that same bench, a sleeping infant bundled against her chest, a small backpack beside her. Tears track silently down her face as she stares at nothing. Excuse me, I say, sitting beside her. Are you all right? She startles, wiping her cheeks quickly. I'm fine. The defensive tone is one I recognize, having used it myself decades ago. I was right where you are once, I tell her, nodding to the sleeping baby. 17, pregnant, nowhere to go. Her eyes widen slightly, suspicion battling with desperate hope. Everyone deserves a second chance to become who they're meant to be. I continue, hearing Agatha's words flow through me. The Agatha Beaumont Foundation has a residence program. 18 rooms, on-site childcare while you finish school or job training. I don't have money for rent, she says, chin lifting slightly. The foundation covers it. I reach into my purse for my business card. 3 families are already housed through our support program. 15 scholarships available annually. She takes the card, reading, Arabella Beaumont, CEO, with trembling fingers. Why would you help me? You don't even know me. Because 29 years ago, someone helped me when I sat right here, I answer. She told me my name didn't have to define my future. That evening, Everest, Nolan, and I sit around Agatha's dining table, wine glasses reflecting candlelight. The house feels warm with memories not just of Agatha, but of the life we've built in her absence. To Associate Chief Resident, Nolan raises his glass toward Everest. And to Bluefinch Bakery's expansion, Everest counters. To family, I say simply, the one we choose, the one that stays. Later, after they've gone to bed, I stand in Agatha's study, running my fingers over the spines of her books. The moonlight catches on a framed photo 17-year-old me holding newborn Everest, Agatha's arm around my shoulders. When I changed my name, I whisper to her memory, I didn't just change what people called me, I claimed who I truly was meant to be. Outside, the city lights twinkle like promises. The Beaumont Foundation scholarship applications for next year's program sit on my desk, 15 opportunities for young women to rename their futures. Tomorrow I'll review them, continuing what Agatha started. But tonight, I simply stand in the quiet house, feeling the weight of both names, Caitlin Gray, the abandoned girl I once was, and Arabella Beaumont, the woman I became. Both are part of me now. Neither defines me completely. I am who I choose to be, and that, finally, is enough.